Hey guys, Eddie Hates Persona here to talk to you today about Persona 3. FES specifically. I like my anime cutscenes, thank you very much. Look, I get the original did too. This is mostly a joke towards portable players, but more about portable later. But let's actually talk about the game. Did I like it? Did I hate it? Well, let's find out. Persona 3 was a game that my friend Day had been begging me to play for years. Here's a video from 3 or 4 years ago on this channel showing this.
What the? J-Mom, what are you doing here, bro? Play Persona.
We actually planned to do a whole entire long edited cinematic skit about that, but we got lazy. A little while later, though, I did get into Persona through Persona 5. Yes, not the Persona game Persona 3 fans wanted to hear, but I'm a Persona 5 baby. That was my first taste of this universe. I played through almost the entire game, got to the second to last palace, and then Persona 5 Royal came out. So I decided to start all over again. I eventually beat P5R, loved it, and just kind of went along with my life. Strikers came out though. I bought it, only played like 10 hours. Nothing against the game. From what I remember, it's fire, and I still plan to revisit it very soon, but I think I played it during a bad time where life just kind of got in the way and I stopped playing it. Oh yeah, I also did play P5 Dancing, for what it's worth. Now here we are about 3 years later, and I decided back in March or April to start playing Persona 3. FES. Now, I won't lie. I did also try playing this like a year or two ago. I don't remember exactly when, but I deleted my PS2 emulator off my PC because I needed the space severely. So nothing against P3 there. I only did like the introduction scene, like up until the first summoning, and then the first time you go to Tartarus, and then that's when I stopped playing. So it didn't really mess up my experience this time around because it's not like I played half the game. I played almost all of Persona 5 and then I had to restart, so that was... If anything, that was the worst. Restarting didn't make me hate life or anything. But oh boy, does the game do that on its own. Loved the intro, was hella hype, then the game continues. The first half of this game was rough, and it took me months to play because I just didn't care for most of it. I was really only playing when I had nothing else to do at that point because I just stopped caring. And don't get me wrong, it wasn't the grinding. I hear that a lot. Oh, Persona 5 fan plays his first Persona game, baby, ah. But that wasn't that bad. I played Persona 5 on Merciless on accident for the longest time. So I'd say I was pretty prepared to face this game. And when I can get into a game's mechanics, or I guess in this case the RPG stuff, whatever mechanic stuff that the game shows, and I like it, I can grind that shit. I enjoyed the grinding for this game for the most part. Only annoying little bit was training to beat the Reaper at the end, but I'll talk about the Reaper later as well. But like I said, the grinding was fine. It was mostly the pacing. It just doesn't do the game any favors. At least the soundtrack is fire. But I trusted all my fellow gaming nerds who said it gets better, so I pushed on. Were they right? Yes. Extremely. The game picks up massively after September, and I couldn't put the game down. And I won't lie, the ending by itself makes up for everything. I will not lie. Now, with the context of the ending, does that make me suddenly believe that the beginning and middle of the games are suddenly peak and the greatest thing known to man? No. Just because now I understand how it all works thematically doesn't necessarily mean I have to enjoy facing a random shadow each full moon while nothing goes on besides mid-ass social links and barely having a recognizable antagonist for months on end. I'm not going to be the guy who gets mad at someone for not enjoying that, especially without the context. Now later the game picks up again story-wise with Takia and Chidori and all that. All the stuff's in December, and the choice you gotta make, the tension knowing what's coming up in that final battle was crazy. All the conversations with your teammates about the final threat. Man, it's crazy. But amidst all that, it gets slow again! At least the soundtrack's still fire. The entire last 2 months of the game were frustrating because I was half extremely excited, really wanted to know what happened. But on the other hand, nothing happens. Outside of the December 31st thing until the ending, it was pretty rough, I'm not gonna lie. Luckily, by that point, as I mentioned, I was already hooked on the main storyline. The moment of euphoria for me with this game was basically the whole Chidori and Junpei story introduction, as well as a certain scene from the start of October where something big happens, and from that point onward, I enjoyed this game a lot more. Talking about social links, early social links were iffy. Being forced to date every girl save for Maiko after rank 10 felt a bit off. I felt like a womanizer, man. And it wasn't even by choice. In other social links, you're just encouraging people to make bad decisions. Shit was kind of weird, but the later social links were pretty much all bangers. Akinari is probably my favorite current social link in all of Persona. If you were to ask me who my favorite character overall in the game was, though, I'm a bit of a basic man. I'm gonna have to say Aigis after the main character, of course. But I also love Fuka. She's wonderful. Now we're cooking. While we're on the topic of characters, I wanted to bring up that I both dislike and really like how the main party grows in this game. I do think as a concept, it's a lot better than the thing in Persona 5, which I do agree with, where they get their introduction arc and then a little development after. I don't really like that. I think is a problem that I have with P5, and I'm willing to admit that. I prefer this game's approach where all of them get development throughout, where it all just happens in the main story as well, not just social links. I think that's smart, even if I do think the execution could have been a bit better. In retrospect, it wasn't that bad, even if once again I didn't really care super much about a lot of them till later, which comes with the territory of storytelling, especially in a story like this with as many twists and turns and reveals as this one. You can't exactly do all the development you want to until those twists and turns happen. But by the end, I loved pretty much everyone in the entire group. Even Yukari. Now, once again, the good in this game I feel heavily outweighs the bad. I just hope this isn't a case of, I like it in remembrance, but if I played it again, it would suck again. I don't think it would, but I'm still slightly scared about it. I don't know, man. We won't figure it out until I eventually play it. But one thing that will never suck is its themes. The themes of mortality, death, and wishing for it is portrayed beautifully. From the beginning to the end. From the persona summoning evokers to the actual character of death and the other people dealing with things related to that and all of it tying together. Now that brings me peace. It brings healing to my soul. Even though it should technically bring me an existential crisis, if we're being honest, because I relate to a lot of these things about death, and shit can be scary. And the game does a good job at letting you know that it doesn't have to be. That was probably my biggest takeaway from the game, especially with how like I mentioned, beginning and end come full circle. No spoilers on what exactly, but if you know, you know. Oh yeah, goofy story on the side. I mentioned this earlier. I about the Reaper. I had to beat the Reaper twice. I wasn't even going to face the Reaper at first, but I said, why not? I'm already at the end. A little extra grinding won't hurt, and it can't be too hard, right? And I also heard about the extra levels, or the extra floors. I forgot the name of the place. It starts with an M, but the extra floors you can unlock after you beat them that give you hella XP pretty fast. So I was like, hell yeah, this is going to be awesome. Let me go accept the request. So I went to accept the request from Elizabeth to get the thing, and then I went and beat the Reaper. About an hour later, I finally beat him, went to collect my gift from Elizabeth, realized that I didn't accept the request. I have no clue how. I literally remember doing it. I still refuse to believe. It has to be a bug in the game. I know it's not, but I don't care. I refuse to believe it. So I had to do it all over again. I was devastated. So that was awful. I had to play that shit all over again. After that, I grinded to like level 90 in the area that I mentioned you unlock, and beat the final boss that won't be named. The whole end, gameplay-wise, and then the actual story end with the credits happened. And wow, fantastic. Here's a little recording of what I was telling my friend as I finished the game on Instagram. Spoilers ahead, so skip to the time on the screen right here to avoid any spoilers. Oh my god, shit, tragic new panic, oh my god. What the fuck? Oh wait, anime scene. I see me, what the fuck? Am I actually alive? What the fuck is going on? Because you can get the full emotional roller coaster that I'm going on. And it's easier than a phone call. Because I'm in the middle of playing. Also, the world returned to normal. Woo! I think you could see off of that video how hype I was. After finishing the game, I was pretty conflicted onto who I preferred as a main character. And Yuki almost snatched it. It was very close. Although I still prefer Joker ever so slightly. Yuki's really sneaky though, because that ending, I'm gonna say it right now, I prefer it heavily to the ending of P5, although I do still really like the ending of P5. It doesn't have to be, depressing. I'm not one of those guys where it's like, oh, it's a lighthearted ending, it's bad. I just think the ending of P3 is extremely impressive and almost a game changer for that. But overall, I kind of like Joker as a, person more, and I kind of like the cockiness and all that as opposed to the standoffish kind of thing. Although both of them have their reasons for being the way they are. It's just a personal bias at that point. But does Yuki make it a hard choice? And I'm just sad because right as I was wanting more, it was snatched from me. I get it, I could just replay the game. Bam, now I got more. And this is going to sound bad, but I'm not going to lie. I don't think I'm ever going to replay FES, and if I do, it's not going to be for a long time, because portable and reload. So I decided to watch on YouTube the couple social links that I missed, and called it a day. Now about portable, like I just mentioned, I do plan on playing it just because from what I've read about the female MC, it seems interesting. And I want to at least experience that bit because it should bring something new to my Persona brain. And treat it kind of like I do Pokemon, where I play as a girl, then a guy, or vice versa, and treat it as two different games. But before that, what I'm doing at this very moment is replaying Persona 5 Royal, playing Persona 1, and eventually playing The Answer. I'm glad I'm replaying Royal because it'll give me a chance to compare the games with a more recent brain rather than a nostalgia one for 5, because I don't want to be the guy who only likes P5 more because I have more fond memories of it and only criticize P3's bad moments when P5 probably has some that I might not be remembering. So, I want to be fair about it. Although going to the replay, there is one thing I don't think I'll suddenly not like about P5, and it's the lighter tone. Even though I really loved, enjoyed, and even at some moments preferred the darker tone of P3. Because I think it's a weird take when P3 fans seemingly believe that since P4 and 5 aren't as dark as P3, they can't be nearly as good. It's Nick Jr. type stories and stuff. Adults bad. I just think that's dumb. Because on the flip side, it would be like a P5 fan saying that P3 is whack. It's just trying to be dark and edgy and fake deep, super elitist, and I think that argument's dumb as well. Oversimplification kills. P5R so far is pretty litty. I'm not too far into the replay, just on the first palace. P1 is interesting. Been playing for a bit. Not sure how I feel about it yet. Just know that I wanted as much context going into P2 as possible, because outside of P3, that's the game that Persona fans say is the best in the zenith of the medium. So I want to maximize possible enjoyment by eliminating possible confusion. And The Answer, I'm going to wait a bit to start, but want to grind out soon. And I'm also curious on what they attempted to do story-wise after the ending of P3. I hear The Answer is rough, but I'm the type of person who likes to go in open-minded and form their own opinions, so that's what I plan to do. P4 is going to have to wait for a minute. I'm sorry. Also wanted to mention, couldn't find a good place in this video to put it, but I play all the Persona games in dub. I usually am an original language type of guy, but if a dub is fire, I tend to vibe with it. And as I like Persona 5's dub, I also like 3's dub a lot. But yeah, I don't think I have much else to mention besides that I'm extremely happy I finally played this game. I can now see the hype around it, especially narratively, and I am now so much more in love with the Persona series. Goated. Subscribe if you got this far, please. I'm desperate. I'd appreciate it. I mean, have a wonderful day. Peace out and bye. Peace.
This shit tragic, new body.